We saw an object hovering near the road on the way. I got out, went up to get a closer look. I was suddenly hit by a blast of energy from the craft that knocked me unconscious. But when I saw the creatures, I knew where I was. November 5th, 1975, I was working in the woods with 6 other men, and after a day's work, we loaded up our equipment and headed home, and we saw an object hovering near the road on the way. I got out, went up to get a closer look, and I was suddenly hit by a blast of energy from the craft that knocked me unconscious. The crew thought it had killed me and that they were next, so they took off, and then once they got over their fear to some extent, they came back to see if they could help me, and by then the craft had taken me and left. But when that blast of energy hit me, I was knocked unconscious, and when I came to, I didn't know where I was at first. At first I thought I'd just been hurt in the woods and taken to a hospital, but when I saw the creatures, I knew where I was. The small creatures that I awoke to see, you know, in many ways, you know, they're just compared to the term gray, but they didn't have that term back in those days. And one of the major differences in the description that is around today and what I saw is that the eyes had pupils, they had eyelids and they blink. So, you know, they were hairless, very large cranium, but like a human arrangement of features, 2 eyes, nose, mouth, ears. At the time that this happened to me, I thought that it was an abduction. After my initial encounter with these small creatures, I went looking for a way out, and I was in this round room that I think was some kind of a viewing room of the maps of the stars, or maybe it was actually viewing where the craft was. The buttons that I was pushing to try to open a door didn't seem to do anything most of the time, but there was this one lever that made all the stars move in unison together. And that was very disorienting, almost made me sort of fall down. I was already off balance because I was so weakened after being hit by that energy. But a human being, or at least what I at first thought was a human being, a human-looking alien, came in and took me out of the craft. And he took me into this larger craft or airplane hangar-like thing. And then out of that large room, there were some other humans waiting for me. I don't know if this was like a forceful intervention, were the human beings coming in and taking me away from these little creatures, or was there some kind of cooperation? Did the little creatures say, oh, this guy's injured and we don't know anything about this type of body, and you guys are very similar to him, come and help us fix him up? Or, you know, there's all kinds of speculations about the nature of their relationship, because I didn't see the human-looking beings and these little creatures together at the same time. It's been speculated that perhaps the aliens, in seeing my reaction to their appearance, just to overcome that fear, somehow created the illusion, maybe a hologram or something that would be more reassuring to me in you know, looking more human. And people say, well, did they look like robots? Did the little ones look like robots? And I always say, well, if you had a technology that was capable of creating a functioning robot, one that could actually replace a living being, the technology would be good enough that you wouldn't be able to tell. Because we're talking about technology that is probably hundreds of thousands or millions of years ahead of us. And look how far we've come in just 100 years. So how far could someone else go in 1,000 or 100,000 or even 1,000,000? And based on the age of other star systems, they could be very, very, very far ahead of us, to the point where their technology looks like magic. I would think that a technology that advanced would be capable of completely, 100%, disguising their presence if that was their intention. They could come here, they could do all the things that they do and not even let us know at all. Because the very sort of minimal ability they have to just have pictures that aren't quite proof, sightings with multiple witnesses, but not quite, everything falling short of proof, it suggests to me that there's a kind of a conditioning program going on, that they want to gradually accustom Earth people to the idea of their presence so as not to create too much disruption. And if that's their intention, and if the governments of Earth are aware of their presence, they may be sort of complicit or sort of going along with that particular approach. I do think that we've come a long ways, because back when this happened in 1975, they actually didn't know for certain of a single planet outside of this solar system. But now, with the advanced telescopes we have, they've identified for certain which stars, other suns, do have planets going around them, and even to the point of being able to tell to a certain degree just how Earth-like these planets might be. So we've come a long way in our awareness of other life and the possibility of other life, and even Hollywood fiction and science fiction and those kinds of stories has been getting people, societies, accustomed to the idea that we're not alone in the universe.